Hello everyone and welcome to my channel. I hope that you are all good. So in today's video I have a beginner friendly gel polish nail art tutorial with a little bit of stamping as well, so I hope you all enjoy watching. Now for today's video I am working on my Glamerliz practice hand. I do have some clear tips already placed in, and then I'm going to be coming straight in with my Kiki London rubber coloured base coat. So with the rubber coloured bases you can use them alone as a base coat, so you could pop one coat down and then come in with your coloured gel polish over the top like you would with a clear base coat, or you can do two coats of them and use them as their colour as well. So if you're looking for nude nails, I would highly recommend checking out the rubber coloured bases because they make it a little bit quicker than doing a gel polish manicure with a coloured nude gel polish, if that makes sense, because you haven't got to do two coats of your colour, you can just do two coats of your base coat. And this one in particular is one of my absolute faves because it's such a gorgeous shade. This is number 5. I think there's 8 in the collection. And this one especially, I love it because once you have got a second coat down, it's a very opaque, full coverage, pinky nude. And it's just a really, really pretty colour. Now, if you was working on yourself or a client, you would do all your natural nail prep first before coming in with your base coat. But because I'm working on the practice hand, all I've done is buffed the shine off of the tips that I'm working on top of, and then I'm coming straight in with that base coat. Now, when I work with any kind of rubber base coat, I like to really scrub that base layer into the natural nail. So I really work the product into that nail plate. Now, rubber bases are slightly thicker than your regular base coat, but I find really working them in, and because of the thickness, you get a much stronger base. So this is what the colour looks like once we've done one coat, and I'm then going to pop this in to cure for 30 seconds and then come in with a second coat. Now when it comes to applying the second coat, I float this on, or I apply this more like I would my colour coat. I don't need to work it into that base coat. So as you can see, I'm just floating that colour down, and this is where you see the true shade of these rubber coloured bases. Once you come in and apply that second coat of colour, you get a lot more opacity. Like I said, I especially love this one. It's one that I wear on my own nails quite a lot, but I also love it because it's a very nice nude, in my opinion, for some nail art. And that was what I wanted to do in this set. I wanted to do a little bit of gel polish nail art and then a little bit of stamping. I thought the overall design was quite simple, but I do often get asked for some beginner friendly videos, and because I've had a few acrylic videos up lately, I thought it would be nice to come in and do some gel polish and a little bit of stamping. So with each coat of the rubber coloured bases, if you are using the Kiki London LED lamp, then they require a 30-second cure. But of course, always check the brand that you're using, as curing times can differ from brand to brand. Now, another thing to bear in mind whenever you are applying any kind of gel products, you want to be really, really careful how you're applying it. You want to make sure that you don't get any on the skin or cuticles. So I like to just take a small amount on my brush at a time, and I'd be really careful when I'm working around that cuticle and nail bed area and making sure that I'm letting the brush fan out and do a lot of the work for me. If you are struggling to get a nice, neat cuticle line, you can also come in with a small nail art brush around that cuticle area as well. Now that we have cured our second coat of colour, we're ready to jump into our nail art, and I'm going to start off with the stamping. So I'm using this beautiful Celestrial plate from Miss Lucy UK, and for my stamping polishes I'm going to be using 2 from Clear Jelly Stamper. So I'm using this really nice Tiffany blue shade as well as a black as well. Now off camera, before I jumped into the stamping, I did give my plate a good clean with some acetone. I always like to clean my plate before I do any stamping, even though I know I've cleaned the plate when I've put it away. It might not have been used for a little while. Sometimes dust and things like that can build up on your plate. So personally, I always like to go in, give my plate a good clean before I start stamping, as then you just know that you're set up, ready to go. I also like to make sure that I have everything on hand near me. So my stamper, my lint roller, my scraper, some acetone and some pads to clean the plate with. I like to have everything within reach because then it just makes all your stamping flow a lot easier, having everything to hand. Then when it comes to the stamping, I like to make sure I'm planning my design, usually pick out the images that I'm going to use before I you know, before I go into the design. So next up, we're going to be using this one here in the corner. This is quite an intricate plate, but they all do stamp really, really well. So I personally like to apply a generous amount of stamping polish, and then I'll do 1 to 2 scrapes and just gently, with a flick of the wrist, roll my stamper across the image. And then you can see it's picked up that image really, really well, but we've picked up a few other little pieces that we don't want. So I like to remove them using my lint roller. You've probably seen me do it this way in hundreds of my stamping videos. You can also use sellotape to remove those little parts of the image that you don't want, as well as I've seen people as well, they use the corner of their scraper as well, but I've personally always just found it easiest to use my lint roller. It's what I will also use if I need to clean the head of my jelly stampers as well. Then as you see, when it comes to stamping down the image, I just press down, rock my stamper from side to side and pull off. So I'm always going to give my plate a good clean after I stamp each image. I'm doing this just using some acetone and some kitchen roll, and I like to give my scraper a good clean as well, because it's very easy for your stamping polish to build up on there, and then once it builds up you don't get as nice of a scrape. Now I wanted to add a little bit more stamping to these 2 nails, but a lot of the images on here are quite large and we have already covered a lot of the nail. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to use certain parts of the image. So like on this little shooting star one, rather than using the tail of the star, I'm simply going to use the star. So I'll apply everything as normal, pick up the entire image, but just using the very edge of my lint roller, I'm going to pick away any little tiny pieces I don't want. Now what you can also do is you can stamp down and clean off using some alcohol, but I personally don't like doing that because I always end up taking off parts of the image that I don't want to take off. So again, personally, I always find the lint roller way the easiest. And I'm going to stamp 2 of those stars on this nail. So we're going to do exactly the same again, cleaning off my plate. Make sure you really give your plate a good clean, especially if you're using the same image again, because you won't get a nice clean pickup if you don't clean off all of that previously used stamping polish. So again, generous amount of stamping polish, scrape, flick of the wrist with your jelly stamper or whatever your preferred stamper is, and then when it comes to placing down that image, I'm just going to look through my stamper, line it up to where I want it to be, and I personally like to press down and do a little rock from side to side and then pull off that stamper. And since switching to a clear jelly style stamper, I don't find that I have any issues with stamping. They definitely are the easier stampers because you can really see where you're placing down your image. Again, I want to add a few little pieces to the next now. So I'm just going to pick off these little leafy pieces that are on this moon here. So this was a little bit tricky because they are quite tiny, but again, just have patience when you are using your lint roller or whatever it is you're using, and you'll be able to do that easily. Now I did apply a little bit too much stamping polish here, so I scraped a few more times just to make sure I got a nice clean pickup. And then here you can see I'm just being really careful because I don't want to end up taking off that whole image, and we are only saving a teeny tiny piece to stamp down. But I love doing this. I love playing around and not always using the images in how they're supposed to be used, if that makes sense. Pulling little pieces out, especially when you're working on smaller nail beds as well. Some images you might find are a little bit too big for natural nails, but you can play around and just like stamp on 3/4 of the design and it still look really, really cute. Or you can do what I'm doing here and just pull out certain sections of the image and you'll find that it works. I love stamping. I find that it's very, very versatile. You just need to have fun, practice and play around with it, and you can create some really fun designs. So this is the last little bit of stamping we are going to do on this now, but I will add this video to a stamping playlist. So if you are looking for more stamping videos, then do check out the others, or if there's anything in particular stamping wise that you are struggling with, pop it in the comments below and I'll see if I can do a video helping you. So now that we have finished all the stamping, this is what these 2 nails looked like. I loved the clash between the blue and the black. We're now going to move on to our gel polish nail art. So I've taken my Kiki London palette and then I've got 2 Kiki London colours. So I have this gorgeous orange, which is called Just Peachy. This is from the new Exotic Summer collection and I absolutely love this one. And I'm going to team that up with Fiji Water, which is this gorgeous blue. I feel as though these two colours work really well together for a summery design. So I'm going to pop those both down on my palette, and then I'm going to use my Kiki London striped liner brush for my nail art. Now this is my absolute go-to striping brush. I've had this absolutely ages, and I don't think I do any kind of gel polish nail art without it. Now I wanted to go for a little bit of a kind of like an abstract theme. I'm really loving different alternative French looks at the moment as well, so this kind of ties both of those together. We're kind of doing like a half French. I think this looks really fun and quirky, so we're simply painting on basically half of a French smile line, and then I'm going to colour that in. Now with my striped liner brush, I try to let the brush do a lot of the work for me. So I load it up with a generous amount of gel polish, really work that gel polish through the bristles, and then I just let it glide into place. Hand painting can be a little bit tricky, but I have found it a lot easier since switching to this brush, especially things like this with the French. Now on to the little finger, I kind of again want to go for a little bit of a French vibe. I'm just going to simply paint on a V French, that's a different one. A V of French on the very tip of the nail. Wanted this to look quite thin, as we are going to come in and do a little bit more nail art, but I just wanted that little pop of colour because I really love this colour, and it's really fun getting all the brights out for the summer nails. If you are in the UK, I hope you have a little bit of summer starting to emerge. I love doing all the bright nails, but let me know in the comments below, what is your favourite season for nails? Although I love doing all of the brights, I have to say that autumn is my absolute favourite season for nails. I just love autumn nails, all the colours and things like that, so I do find that that is my favourite season for nails. But after winter and spring is very fun to get the brights out for summer. So I really wanted this Just Peachy to pop, so I decided to come in with a second coat of colour. It didn't necessarily need it, but I just thought because it's only a small section and I want it to really pop, I am going to come in and do that second coat. So I'm just going over the top of the first coat, being really careful, which is following what we've done underneath, which makes it a lot easier than doing the first coat of colour. Again, if you watch here, I'm letting that brush do a lot of the work for me. I'm kind of trying to balance my hand and get it into a good position for painting because it can be a little bit tricky. And then once I have done the second colour coat of this, we're going to come in and do a little bit of dots, a few dots with our dotting tool and that blue colour. I was originally going to carry on hand painting, but I wanted to keep it all a little bit simple, and I also didn't want to add too much more blue into the set because we've got a lot of blue going on the middle two nails. And this gel polish, by the way, it was the closest kind of match that I could find to the stamping polish. It's a little bit more blue, but I felt as though everything tied together nicely in the set. So with my dotting tool, I'm just going to do 3 dots over one side on the cuticle area and then 3 dots on the tip here, and it gives off that kind of fun, funky, abstract vibe. I really loved it. And then down on this now, I'm just going to do a little cuticle cuff with the dotting tool as well. Originally, I was going to do a cuticle cuff on this now with the striped liner brush, but that is a little bit more tricky, especially I find when I'm working on the practice hand, because it doesn't have a very neat cuticle anymore, as I have had my Glamerliz a while now. So also to keep this a little bit more beginner friendly, I thought I would do it with the dotting tool as well, because the dotting tool is a really easy way to add nail art into your designs. So once we had cured all of that, I'm then going to take some of the Kiki London Eggshell Top Coat. Now this is designed as a top coat, so you can top coat your entire nails with this, but I wanted to use it more for nail art purposes. So I'm going to pop some down onto my palette, and then I'm going to paint this over all of the nude on the pointer and the little finger. But the reason I'm applying it with my detail brush is because I don't want to take it over any of the colour. So I'm just being really careful, moving those particles into place, but making sure none come over the colour. And then we will fully top coat after to seal all of our stamping and the rest of the nail art in. I also want to top coat with a matte top coat as well, because I decided I wanted to do this design matte. But like I said, just using the eggshell top coat for nail art purposes. Since this top coat launched, I really love it for abstract nails. When it first launched, I kind of could only think of doing like mini egg style nails with it. But then since having it and playing around with it, you can create some really fun nail art designs with it. So I ended up getting getting a lot more use out of this than I originally thought, because I love anything abstract and I feel like this works quite well. So like I said, just applying it again on the little finger, same as on the pointer finger, nudging some of the pieces around. I love that it has a mix of larger and smaller pieces in it as well. So I'm just moving everything around until it looks quite appealing to the eye and is covering how I want it to cover. And then again, we're going to pop that in to cure for 30 seconds. And then now we're going to come in and do our final step, which is our top coat. So I'm going to take the Kiki London No White Matte Top Coat and I'm just going to apply a thin layer of this to all of the nails. Now this of course goes on glossy, and then once it has cured it comes out matte, and it is one of my go-to matte top coats. I really love it over stamping as well, because I find some matte top coats can make your stamping smudge, but I don't find that with this one, which is a great bonus. I really hope you all are having a wonderful weekend. By the way, I haven't uploaded a video on the weekend in a while. I've been trying to stick to every Wednesday upload, but I had a little bit of free time this Friday, so I decided I would do some nails and then hopefully get the video up over the weekend. By the time this goes up, it's probably actually the end of the weekend, but I hope you have all had a lovely weekend and I hope you all enjoyed this video. If you did enjoy today's video, then please do give it a thumbs up, leave me a comment below, and if you aren't already subscribe to my channel, I would absolutely love it if you hit that subscription button. I should have another video up on a Wednesday as usual. Once again, thank you all so much for watching. I hope you are all doing okay and keeping safe and well. Lots of love. Take care. Bye bye.